So, what are Google ranking factors, or what are the Google ranking factors? It's hard to say because Google doesn't actually specifically release this information for obvious reasons. It doesn't want people to try and game the system and rank higher on the search results by using kind of dodgy tactics, although those do go on. But as Brian Dean, who is kind of seen as a really important figure in the SEO space, and his website is fantastic, Backlink Co. There's actually a link to this article that he wrote about some of the key ranking Google factors, and there are over, in theory, around 200 ranking factors in the Google algorithm. So it's hard to pinpoint every single one, but yeah, this gives you a flavor of what to expect. It could be said, this is slightly a cynical point of view, but it could be said that Google wants you to pay for visibility, PPC, so they make SEO as complex as possible. I don't fully subscribe to this because I've seen in Google's mission that it is to try and provide information free accessibly to everyone in the world. So it doesn't really make sense for them to, try and make people pay for it. And I think the only reason they have PPC and use ads is to actually sustain Google and actually to make it free for everyone. So I don't fully endorse that point of view, but I can see why people with a slightly cynical head-on might see SEO just being unnecessarily complicated. As I've already stressed multiple times already in this course, we're going to be trying to simplify SEO, so we won't be getting too bogged down in the details. Speaking of details though, what are the most important Google ranking factors in 2021? Referring domains and backlinks are important, as is the organic click-through rate, as is domain authority, as is mobile usability, dwell time and bounce rate, on-page SEO, and content quality. We'll be covering each of these now in a bit more detail. So referring domains and backlinks. So here we're talking about sites which have multiple sites with high domain authorities linking to them. And the reason this is seen as important is because it signals to Google that these sites must be doing something right. So let me kind of give you a bit more background on this. So say we have here a website which is linking to your website. Now, this is an indication to Google that, okay, if this website here, this other website, is sending a link to your website because you've provided really good quality content, then that's like, okay, this website is doing something good. And that's basically just a signal to Google saying, yeah, this website is providing valuable information. And of course, that's what it wants its users to find. So that's why it's important. They have been declining in importance in recent years as Google have recognized that a lot of people are paying for these links artificially, and it's kind of a practice which has been going on for years, and it's not good, obviously, and it's against Google guidelines to actually pay for links. However, you can build links. There is a subtle distinction, as we'll talk about later in this course, but this is still an important factor. Another important factor is the organic click-through rate. So here we're talking about if a site is showing up in the search engine results page for a keyword, but users are then not clicking through to that website, it signals one of two things to Google. Either that link isn't relevant, so that's like as a result in that URL dropping down the search results, or the result isn't enticing enough for users. So we want to try and kind of act against this. How do we do this? Well, we make the title tag and meta description more relevant and enticing for users to click on. So let me give you an example. Here we have a generic search engine results page, and here we have a breakdown of what the title tag and meta description are. You've probably seen these thousands of times without really knowing what they are. So this first line here where it says meal replacement shakes, pipe, weight loss diet shakes, pipe, Exanti, that here is the title tag. And we can change this to include more relevant keywords, which is actually a really quick way to boost results, and the meta description here. So in this case, an Exanti meal replacement shake is intended to substitute blah, 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 etc. So we can change both of these things to make this result more enticing for users to click on and also more relevant for the particular keywords. Domain authority. So DA is a search engine ranking score which was developed by Moz, and Moz are not related to Google in any shape or form. They're an external body which are quite big in the SEO space, and they built this factor, this kind of score, if you like, to help predict how well a website will rank in the search engine result pages. So this score ranges from 1 to 100, and a higher score corresponds to greater authority. And this DA is kind of like Google ranking algorithm, but there are some differences, some notable differences. and it's kind of made up of a range of factors. So here we just kind of got a breakdown of some of these. So for example, the link and quality of your links pointing to your website is a factor, as is actually the number of links. Social media mentions comes into it because that shows brand awareness, domain age, and brand search volume. So those are just kind of a smattering of factors that go into domain authority. Not really that important to kind of get too hung up on domain authority, but obviously you want a higher DA, and typically I've seen with clients, if you can get a DA of above 40, that's actually a really good start. And to give you an idea of some of the websites that have a really high DA, so I believe YouTube has a DA of around 98, something like that, and other publications like The Independent and other kind of newspapers also tend to have quite high DA scores. Mobile usability. So here we're talking about a factor which measures how easy it is for users to navigate a site on their mobile devices. This is really important because actually now Google has turned to what it calls mobile first indexing. So in other words, if your website is looking good on mobile and it's not looking good on desktop, don't worry about it too much because Google is preferring mobile results. However, if your website looks really good on desktop, but actually looks really poor on mobile, not easy to use, quite hard to navigate, then that will make your results drop. So yeah, mobile usability is a really important factor. Here it kind of looks at aspects like the size of the images and how easy it is to read the text, and there's a bunch of other factors as well. As I've touched on here, if a site is not mobile friendly, it's unlikely to rank as highly as one that is, everything else being equal. And there are some tools which help with mobile usability. This here is just a screenshot in Google Search Console, which is a free tool which you can set up, which we kind of will talk about later in this course, but it's not super important because I think as long as your website looks good on mobile, you can kind of decide for yourself what good looks like. But I think, yeah, generally speaking, having size of images not too big, text quite easy to read, that sort of thing, should be onto a winner. Dwell time and bounce rate, another factor. So dwell time is the amount of time that passes between the moment a user clicks a search result and subsequently returns to the site, to the SERPs even. So we want this dwell time to be high, generally speaking, because it shows to Google that, okay, people are spending a long time on your website, that content is likely to be relevant and useful to users. That's a good thing. The bounce rate is kind of the inverse of this. So it's a percentage of single page sessions, i.e. visitors who only visit one page on your website before leaving. So obviously you want this to be quite low. You don't want your bounce rate to be too high. And again, if it is too high, it signals to Google that your website is likely to be doing something not too good. On-page SEO optimization. So on-page SEO is all about ensuring the content on our sites targets relevant keywords and can be easily understood by Google. Key things here being relevant keywords and easily understood by Google. How do we do this? Number of factors, things like the title tag, which you've already covered in this particular video. The URL itself is important as well, not hugely important, but it does play some part to SEO. The content on the page and image alt text, these are just a few examples, and we'll cover these in greater detail. So just to give you kind of an idea of where we're going with this. So this is a page again on Exante that I've worked on, and changing this, what we call the H1 or the heading, to include the relevant keyword for us, which was meal replacement shakes, and having 400 plus words of content at the bottom of the page with relevant subheadings and keywords. So this is all about making your content relevant, including relevant keywords, but also making it easy to be understood by Google. Having that content on the page is really important. Something I should stress at this point, Google can't read images, or at least it can't at the moment. Google Lens is kind of coming into play, which is going to probably shake up this SEO industry. But for now, it's difficult for Google to read images. You can use image alt texts, which kind of signal to Google what the image is about. So it's just like a one-line description, usually like boy playing in the grass or something like that. Generally speaking, at the moment, Google can't read text, can't read images easily, prefers text, which is why text is really important. Which leads us nicely onto content quality, EAT. So to give you some background to this, in March 2019, Google rolled out one of its biggest core algorithm updates to date, which looks specifically at the quality of content on websites. And websites here that have shown to have expertise, that's where the E comes in, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness If they have those three factors, they're likely to rank more highly on Google, all else being equal. So a bit more detail on this. Expertise, having valuable knowledge in a particular field and communicating this to your audience in a way that they understand. Authority kind of links back to the backlinks and people citing your information as a source. And by doing that, kind of shows that you are an authority in this space. And trustworthiness is all about kind of showing that your customers like what you're doing, or that people like your website, and there's kind of factors that go into this. You don't want to have too much negativity attached to your brand. So obviously reviews come into play, which is why we see a lot of websites, they have like the reviews in the footer of their website just to show, okay, you know, we've got a high rating for a hotel, for example, and that's kind of leading or kind of lending itself to trustworthiness.